Hello my friends, it's Gabriel with The Last Huntsman Outdoors here. Today I'm going to be doing a 2-for-1 review here. I have to give a special thanks to Off Grid Knives who sent me both the Cayman XXL here and the Tracker X2. Both of these are in Cryo D2 and test them both out. First of all though, I want to kind of give a special shout out here to both Armitage Carry and Carol's Customs. Now Armitage Carry makes a lot of nice Kydex sheaths, and Carol's Customs makes some awesome like custom grips for a lot of popular knives out there, and I have a promo code for both of them. And both of them I have the promo code Last Huntsman, all one word, all capital letters, for a friendly little discount. So if you're interested in some awesome Kydex and custom scales for your knife, check those out. Let's get testing these knives. I'm gonna do a little bit of delimbing here. This knife is just super sharp. I am very impressed with the edge. I'm gonna make a steak here with the Cayman XXL. Now this is like right around a 6-inch blade, so it's not gonna be like a super chopping knife, but I mean, who doesn't want to chop with a Bowie that looks like that, right? Well, stick in the ground or a vampire, pretty good. All right, so here we have both the Cayman XXL. It's kind of that large kind of, it's kind of a harpoon sax Bowie kind of all in one. I really like the overall profile of this knife. It's in their Cryo D2. Comes with an awesome Kydex sheath with a kind of a nylon backer, Velcro and snap type of setup. Awesome kind of deal. And of course we have the Tracker X2, which is kind of like their 5-inch camp knife, also in Cryo D2. Full flat grind. This one's quite a bit thicker. And this one also had the same kind of backer on the Kydex sheath. I took it off and borrowed it for another knife. But just know that both of these kind of had the same thing. Let's get testing these knives. As always on my channel, I like to start off with some batoning. I'm gonna start off with the XXL Cayman here. Now this is a fairly thin knife. If there was anything that I would criticize right off the bat, is just how thin the stock is on this knife. It looks like it's like right around 1/8 of an inch thick, which for this size of knife I think is a little on the thin side, but we're gonna try it out. That tip is really thin on here. Thus far it seems like it's holding up. All right, now we're going to try the X2 Tracker. This one kind of seems like they're more chunky camp knife. I actually was pretty impressed with this one when I first got it out of the box. Yeah, that actually just popped that right too. Oh yeah, this one's a full flat grind, but looks like it's right around 3/16 thick. This one actually batons better than even the Cayman does. All right, now I'm gonna take each one of these. I'm just gonna do that kind of ninja death grip and just do some slicing here and just kind of get a feel for each of these knives. So as I showed, the edges right out of the box for these was actually really good. I was fairly impressed with both of these, but they are D2s, so they're not like some super steel. They're not gonna hold an edge forever or anything either. Right off the bat, I'm gonna say this Cayman XL, it does have flat scales, and as you guys know, I kind of got mixed feelings on that. Actually, my knife design has flat scales, and it's actually very comfortable. This one, however, I think for me, it's because the handle is so wide here, and I got medium size hands, that it's almost too big for my hand. Like if you just had like super huge ogre hands, this knife would actually feel really good. But for how big this handle is, it just kind of cramps my hand up a little bit, to be 100% honest. It does seem like it's a decent slicer. Let me try to find a little different piece here. Yeah, it's doing a little better on this piece. That piece was pretty seasoned. Which makes a big difference. So, the Cayman XXL, right off the bat, as far as ergos, it's a little blocky, but it also just feels, mostly it just feels too big for my hand. If you had like X large hands or something, it'd probably be just about perfect. We're gonna try the Tracker X2. Okay, gonna do my ninja death grip. Just gonna do some slicing. Okay, so right off the bat, this one with that full flat grind, even though it's about half again thicker stock on it, with that full flat grind, honestly, I feel like this one is actually more slicey than even the Cayman XXL. And I will say that it's just a little bit more ergonomic. It still feels a little big in my hand. Like I said, if you had just like large ogre hands, it would actually probably feel just fine. But for my medium-sized hands, it just feels a little on the big side, in all honesty. But honestly, I'm gonna straight up say I'm kind of starting to like the Tracker X2 more than I do even the Cayman XXL. All right, now I'm going to do just a little bit of light chopping. I wouldn't consider either one of these a chopping knife, in all honesty. This one is pretty thin, and so it just doesn't have the weight. And this one has some decent thickness. It just doesn't have the length to it. But we're just going to do some light chopping and kind of see what I can get out of these. Not doing too bad, honestly, though. I just don't think it would really do too great on something a little bigger, heavier. Let's try the other one here. And I'm getting a little thicker here now, too. All right, I'm going to do some light delimbing here with both of these and just kind of get a feel for them. This Cayman XXL, like I said, it's a very thin knife. So it almost feels like a short machete almost in some ways. Let's try the Tracker X2 a little bit. And it just doesn't have the length. But for some really light delimbing, it'd probably do the trick, but in all honesty, either of these are going to be a little lacking for just delimbing stuff. But all right, I'm going to do some notching here with both of these. Got the Cayman XXL first. All right, there we go. Square notch there. Get me a tent stake type of notch real quick. There we go. I'm gonna do some notching here with the Off-Grid Knives X2 Tracker. Get a little square notch there. And got me a nice little tent stake. All right, now I'm going to do my good old cross grain batoning. I'm just going to start off with the Off-Grid Knives Cayman XXL here. All right, that one. Gonna try the X2 Tracker here. It does pretty good too. Honestly, this one a little more tankier than even this guy here. All right, just gonna do some rope cutting with both the Cayman XX2. Now, I will say, or XXL, I will say both of these just really good edge to them and stuff. I actually was very impressed with the edges overall with these. Go ahead and cut. Both of them does just fine. All right, so something else I'm going to point out with the Off-Grid Knives Cayman XXL is that when Off-Grid Knives sent these to me, they sent actually 2 of these to me. And to me, there was no sense in me having 2 of the same knife, so I gave one to Legion Tactical Cutlery. Now, he actually had the tip break off on his, which I find that really kind of, quite frankly, unexcusable. That being said, it could have been just a fluke. You know, there's lemons with every knife company here and there. I think more so than it's a steel quality issue, I actually think it's kind of slightly a design issue, in my honest opinion. What I think would actually make this knife quite a bit better for like bushcraft wood stuff is if they used the same thickness that they did on the X2 Tracker here. As you can see, this thing's like barely 1/8 of an inch thick, if that. So that tip, I was comparing it, I don't have it out here with me, but it has a thinner tip than even like my SE3. So with this like big and long of a knife, I feel like this needs kind of a little bit more robust stock on it. But look how thick the tracker is compared to the Cayman. And I feel like if they just used the same steel stock for this as they did this, maybe just brought the grind up a little bit more, it probably would be just fine. But that's just my suggestion. Maybe they can call it like a Gen 2 Cayman XXL, because like, I'll be honest, I like the shape of that. That just looks sick. I will give it that. I just kind of wish it had just a little bit more ass behind it, I guess, so to speak. All right, so I'm not going to do like a tip test. I don't really care for tip testing. I am just going to do a little bit of stabbing with both of these. Maybe. Really stuck in there. The log I'm stabbing it into is a cedar log, but it's old and weathered and all that stuff. This is what actually got Legion Tacticals to break. Was just a stabbing. He wasn't like prying or anything like that. He just did a basic stab and it did break the tip. But I've batoned, I've chopped with this, I've cross-grained baton, waylaying on that tip, and I still haven't got mine to break. So, you know, he might have just got a fluke, which, you know, like I said, it can happen, especially with more of your budget series of knives. Let's try this other one here. Now this one's more of like a camp type of knife, which honestly, when I got these, I was more excited for this one than I was this one at first. But after trying them both, I'm actually liking the tracker quite a bit more than even the XXL Cayman. But some of that's just because the handle is huge for my hand. And this one doesn't stab anywhere near as good, but it does just feel a lot more robust in hand. All right, so I'm going to do just a little bit more chopping. Now, neither of these are what I would consider a chopping knife, but I'd just like to see what I can kind of do with these anyways. I'm going to set that one off to the side. Just going to do some chopping here with the Cayman XXL. Blade thickness on this one, in my honest opinion, is what hinders this knife. I really do feel like if they used the same thickness on this as they did the Tracker X2, it would actually be like a phenomenal woods and combat type of knife. And some people will kind of hit on it for D2, but D2 steel is actually pretty good when it's done right. And I actually don't feel like this is a steel quality issue. I think it's just a thickness issue more than anything else. But it can slowly but surely do some work. It doesn't feel like a large survival knife, and it feels like a too short machete, basically. Let's try the X2 Tracker here. This one hits with a little bit more authority, and I will actually say too, with the way that handle is shaped, I could actually kind of choke back on it, and I actually like it's almost like a BK2. This one's just kind of lacking some length, but for like a camp size knife, it would do the trick just fine. But this one here being shorter, I would say almost chops as good as this one. If this one had the same length as this guy here, I think it would do amazingly well. Honestly, I think it'd be kind of neat to see this knife with like even a 7-inch blade or so on it. Here we're going to talk about the sheaths for both of these knives. Now both of them has a Kydex sheath. Both of them has awesome retention, like next to no rattle. And both of them comes with this pretty neat little nylon snap and Velcro belt attachment, which I like because you could easily put it on without having to take your belt off. I hate having to take my belt off. But yeah, I'm actually very impressed with both of these sheets. Now I did take the nylon backer off of this one. I sometimes borrow backers from other knives and stuff, but not too bulky or anything. Honestly, you know, both of these are kind of what I would consider in the like sub $100 kind of budget range of knives, but honestly, I think both of these has a better sheath than I've seen with knives that are, you know, $200, $300, $400 sometimes even, which is actually pretty nice. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap up the review on both the Cayman X2 Tracker and the Cayman XXL, both of these from Off Grid Knives. And thank you to Off Grid Knives for providing these to me. I, you know, don't have all the money in the world to just buy a bunch of knives, and so when knife companies send me stuff to try for review, I am greatly appreciative of that. So my thoughts and opinions for kind of in that like budget range of knives, I'm actually fairly impressed with both of these. Now I did mention that Legion Tactical had the other one and he broke the tip off of this one, but I didn't experience that. So could he have just got a lemon? Maybe, you know, it happens sometimes. Or, you know, something that I kind of mentioned is I do think that this knife is kind of on the thin side, quite frankly. I would like to see kind of a Gen 2 of this and just make it in the same thickness as this one. I think this one would be really awesome if they did that. And I actually think it would be kind of nice if they slightly slimmed down the handle just a little bit. But that being said, a lot of your big ogre-handed type of guys would actually like this one. And I will also say that this one actually fits my hand quite a bit better. So if you're kind of looking for something in that kind of more affordable price range, because, you know, I've been accused of just only showing top tier premium knives, which, you know, I just kind of show what I have. Here's something that's kind of more in the budget line for you guys. So both of these are awesome. Once again, thank you to Off Grid Knives. If I had to pick one between the two of these, honestly, I kind of lean on the Tracker X2. I just kind of like, it fits my hand a little better, which that makes a big difference. And I just like how thick it is. I really do think that if they just came out with a thicker version of this, it would be a lot better. But all that being said, be prepared both physically and spiritually. God bless, and carry on.